So Brian, I'm very happy that you took some time, and I would like to give you first short intro for you, and then what you guys are doing, and let's dive that.
Perfect. Yeah, my name is Brennand Pierce. I've been doing robotics now for 20 years. I did a PhD in humanoid robotics. That's where my true passion is. I've also done 4 companies, and my current one, Kinesi, is commercializing, let's say, humanoid but with wheels, mainly for the warehouse and factory space. I think, from my experience and my career, these robots in the form factors have been around for 10 years. What's really changing the industry is now obviously AI, and just with these foundational models and large language models, being able to bring natural language and natural skills to a robot by showing them with demonstration is really unlocking the potential, rather than having to spend weeks, if not months, hand coding all these different behaviors into the robot for customers.
And when you say you've been in the industry and in that niche for quite so long, and you said that AI now is an enabler of that technology that is existing for a few years already, and now we have this humanoid hype at the moment. What do you think is the big difference between not only the technology that enables that, but also the rapidly development in the entire ecosystem surrounding that?
Yeah, great question. It's before, you'd have to spend a lot of time designing algorithms for the controller, and they'd be very much custom for the particular robot. Then the main challenge historically for robots is actually the deployment. So every customer wants something slightly different. Each user case is different. And historically, you'd have to employ quite a few engineers to design behavior trees or do this custom installation. Now, with obviously large language model, you can actually tell the robot what you want to do. Go here, pick up this object, do this, do that in much more natural language. So the people designing the systems no longer have to be a PhD roboticist. You can actually have the salespeople actually to do script these robots. And then I think in the next couple of years, this will really accelerate the installation and practicality. And I think one of the other things, particularly for the humanoids, before you'd actually have to write really complex control algorithms with taking care of a lot of user cases. Even to pick up a glass, you'd have to write all this high-level code. Now, actually using imitation learning, you can actually show the robot 50 to 100 examples, then use modern tools to actually create big synthetic data sets to learn these manipulation skills. And one of the really interesting behaviors that actually organically come out of this is error handling, so where the cap is, all these things actually naturally come out of these AI models.
Especially as the deployment is happening the majority of times not with some engineers, but rather some people on a shop floor level, right? So operators and those people are handling the task. So you think that those LLMs and other tools are really here to enable those people to work together with those robots very closely and very easily?
Yeah, I think the technology is not mature enough. It's not really commercialized. It's very good. If you see the demos in academia, it's very clean, and especially some of the demos we're showing. But I think in the next 2 or 3 years, at least in Kinesi, our vision is, instead of us having to go and do the installation, our dream is we could just send the robot to a factory, to a warehouse, even to a supermarket or be a line chef in a restaurant. Then you can actually get the manager or a worker to actually show the robot what it's doing using natural language and tell the robot what it wants to do, tell it what it's doing well, what it's doing wrong, the same as you'd actually do with a new member of staff. Then that will allow these robots to really have a massive uptake in popularity, or let's say usefulness, because before it's very constrained by having to go to the customer. Some installations in factories and warehouses would take 2 to 3 months, and this has always been a hurdle for robot companies. They get to this 30 to 40 robot deployment, but it's very hard to scale out of that, because you either have to find a way to install the robots easily, or you have to grow a 200-300 person service, and then you get into this weird, are you an integrator, or are you a robot company? And then it gets quite blurred, and whereas I think with these natural languages and also learning by demonstration, you can actually get your customer to be the integrator.
What I like about what you just said is that you were quite frankly about the adoption rate and where are we at the moment with the technology, and especially someone who is building robots and selling robots. Here really clearly stating that there's a difference between doing some things in the lab or in research and then actually being deployed in the real life world. Right?
Yeah, because I think you get, a customer wants something to work 99.9. They don't like, oh, it works 80% of the time. They are paying customers like, we want you to do this job and we want to tell the robot to do it and it should just do it. That means you need 99.9. If you're picking 50 box an hour, it should pick one mistake a day, which is then 99.9%. And this is where, at our company, we're doing AI research, we're developing foundational models, but it's very much a hybrid approach where we're looking at what the models can do today and what classical control are better. So, example, going for A to B navigation, that's been solved, for the last 5 years. So we're actually using just a standard classical control for the navigation stack. A bit of state machines for where it's needed, but then where the AI is outperforms classical control now is the manipulation. What I like to say is a 30 centimeter problem, using classical control to get the robot to the where you're going to pick or manipulate a tool, and then actually just train the robot with the AI to actually pick up objects, use tools, and that's where the AI at the moment is. Maybe in 5 years' time you can train an end-to-end model with a high-level agent that you can just tell to do a task, but I think that's still a couple of years away to be commercially viable.
You said some interesting numbers. This is the 99.99%. So this is what customers expect, right? But if we're looking at the reality in warehouse or even in a restaurant, you have no humans performing at this kind of level, right? So how is this this gap between expected reality? And we're not talking about automotive, right? Mm-hmm. Because then everything is automated and then you can expect the 99.99%. But if people are involved, you never have that 99%.
I think you'd actually find, probably you are, because if you're in a restaurant, a perfect example, I saw a very interesting talk, loading and unloading the dishwasher, a server can maybe smash one glass a week is acceptable, probably not the owners be happy, but there you're handling thousands of drinks, and it's probably acceptable once a month to drop a glass, but every 1,000 times a robot picks up a glass, it smashes it. That'd be every day, and then the customer would just be like very unhappy with that. So it's very surprising actually how repeatable people are. What you also actually, going back to this 99, it's not a case of it has to do the task every time, but it has to be able to recover. For a perfect example, we're going for like low hanging fruits for low throughput tasks. So we're acceptable to do multi-picking. So if it doesn't pick the object up the first time, it can pick it up for the second time. But I don't think you could be there like for 2 minutes trying to pick up an object, because the customer, even if it's still financially viable, the customer will just look at it and be like, this is not something I want to scale up with.
I mean, I think you made a very valid point in terms of it depends on what kind of task it is, right? Because as you said, unloading and loading a dishwasher and how accurate you need to be versus, let's say, some very specific technical thing that you're doing on a line, where this chip needs to be inserted like a very precise. There's a huge gap between those two different tasks.
And I think there you have to have the right technology for the right task. So for example, our robot, because we want to use foundational models and use LLM to actually train the robot, we are not going to be a robot on a high-speed production line or an Amazon warehouse where you're having to do 600 picks an hour, a minute, or something crazily fast. What we're looking for at the moment is those cases where the traveling is a big proponent. So you're traveling for 30 seconds or like 10, 20 meters, and then the pick is only a small percentage. So that at the moment our AMR base would be faster than a person to actually do the traveling from A to B, but then in reality at the moment it's probably slower than a person to do the picking, but then overall you're basically at the same speed.
Coming to the deployment part, maybe you can talk a little bit about customers and actually real life deployments.
Yeah, so we're luckily 2 weeks ago we went out to our first customer. Can't say who yet, but it will be released shortly. There we actually spent a week setting up the robot, doing testing, showing the executives the robot in action. They're very pleased with it, and we will be starting a pilot with them soon. And we have a couple of LOIs signed. Most of this is actually for warehousing, multi-picking, so driving to a pallet or a shelf, picking an object, bringing it to the pack area. And this is where you have to look at reality and, other hype. There is like very much segmented the problem into multi-stage. So at the moment, we're just trying to solve, can we drive to the shelf, pick the object and bring it to the pack area, and then a person will actually do the much more complex manipulation task of like putting it into a box, putting all the packaging, taping it shut. But then over the next year, we want to slowly move up, let's say, the chain, and then put it into the box and do the whole thing end to end over the next year.
So covering the entire workflow.
Yes.
Maybe one last question is regarding, because we're just talking about customers, how is it with expectations? Because I think you're talking to global customers. How is it with the US and Europe? And maybe you can say a little bit about the expectation that people have and how customers' adoption is in reality.
Yeah, I think you get the whole spectrum. Some people see,
So no cliches.
Yeah. So you have some people see the promotion videos and they're like, can we deploy this right this second? We can go in and pick 50,000 items. Then some of the people, especially our partners, who we chose them because they're more reality. They're like, we don't think you're going to be able to go in and pick 50,000 SKUs on day one. So they're very much like, oh, we have this one line. It's a low volume line, so there's not much risk on both sides. Can you just automate this low volume line? And then that's a stepping stone towards their like 50,000 SKUs, which, let's be honest, would be a hard challenge for anyone to pick on day one.
So there's a lesson here to be learned from founders, that you're actually not looking for some customers, you're looking for some partners who are understanding that you're not at the 99% at the moment, that this will take some time, and that you're both getting there, right?
Yeah, and I think this is also for founders, you have to be honest with your customers. One of our first pilot customers, I was very honest about what the state of the technology was. I was honest about, it's like, what, are you certified? You're like, no. It's like, can you pick all the objects, 50,000? I'm like, no. And he actually chose us because we were honest. He was like, a lot of customers like, yes, we can pick 50,000 SKUs. Yes, we're safe to work in a warehouse. He's like, I know this is not true. So they actually liked our honesty, and we were very upfront, like, this is the state of the robot now. This is what our roadmap over the next 1 to 2 years. And we were looking for that partner that understood that from day one, we're not going to outperform a person, but there's a stepping stone to get there. And we're looking for the right partner that understands that and wants to invest the time and effort with us as a true partner to actually automate some of their tasks.
Very refreshing talk, I need to say. So thanks for taking the time and giving us some insights. And you already gave us a little bit away that you said that there's a partnership happening at the moment, and there will be an announcement in the future. So we keep an eye for you.
Perfect. Thank you very much for the talk.
Thanks for being here.
It was great.
And looking forward to see what you guys are cooking.
Thank you.